One, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Stoverload Music Podcast. It's Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas to all of you. And I wanted to give you guys a special gift. Now, week 34 was a very big show for us. And the guest I have today, the guy's a future icon. The guy's amazing with his work, his style, and everything he does. I really see this guy taking over and blowing up really, really, really big. You might know him from some of his songs like The Call, I believe it's Rise Up, and my personal favorite, Regression. Why don't you welcome Mr. AnimaL IoN himself, Mr. Anthony Nuccio. Am I saying that right?
Nuccio, but I've gotten everything before, so
okay.
Whatever.
Dialects and I are not friends, so
it's fine. It's good. It's good. For a while, I was like Stover. What is it? Stover.
Yeah, so we're on the same page.
Yes, exactly. Good to be here. Seriously.
Merry Christmas, man. Glad to have
Christmas. You. Yeah. I'm glad we can make this a nice, end to a year that's been like successful for me and fruitful, and a nice tree in the background. So everything's lining up. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations too, because I started diving a little bit more into your work and learning more about you while checking out your work. And I'm just like, holy crap, I'm actually getting blessed to have a man of such caliber on my show. Because you take your work very seriously in his shows.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of like a theater background, right? And I always loved rock and roll. So even when I was doing like theater, it was always like rock musicals and everything. But yeah, so everything I do, you're kind of right. I mean, it's hard to put stuff out there without a lot of feedback. So thank you, first of all, for your kind words, because to get that direct feedback from an original project means like a lot, right? It's not like you're doing a cover or you're doing something else. It's something that someone likes what you did, that you created yourself. And that, I think, is a whole other level of just, compliment, really.
Yeah, and that's a good thing about the music world is that anybody could do a cover, and that's cool. Some people could do a lot of justice and maybe some not so much. But when you have an original like yourself and you're just putting out hit after hit and everything is just so awesome and everyone's so unique, that's the beautiful thing about what you do is that it's a special gift.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it very much. I like them. I'm biased, obviously, but I like them. So,
well, you better, because if you don't, what are you doing?
That's right. Well, I mean, that's what happens too. If you're like a writer, it's like you put something out, you put so much work into it, and then like you listen back to it, even like a month later, you're like, oh, that was a piece of crap. Like I'm going to do better next time. And I think some of that is healthy to kind of like go back and reassess what you did and try to improve in some way, right? But like I know some people that as soon as they release something, it's like amazing. They're like, yeah, I hate that track. It's like skip that track, and it's like, then why did you do it?
Right.
So,
right.
It's a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, like everybody has a special place, so to speak, or like a unique place they go to develop their songwriting. And what's it like for you? I mean, do you use like personal worldly events, or is there just hey, it's going to come to me. It's going to come to me.
Good question. It really depends on, so I'm very much like musically based first. I may have like almost like an earworm of a chorus, like in my head. And like, it's just kind of like basic, like melodies here and there. And then I'll like start putting like some words to it kind of based around usually some kind of, I want to say event, but like some feeling. But I definitely let the music kind of drive that feeling, if that makes sense. So I mean, I play like basic guitar. I play keyboard, but if I may write something like on a keyboard, even like that riff for The Call, the 7/8 riff or whatever, like that was kind of the start with the chorus. And those lyrics for me like kind of meant something also too, because I was actually going in for like all the military bands at the time, because like the military has like a whole bunch of like professional bands, like really top-notch stuff, yeah, and like singing for like chief of staff and the president, and like going and actually supporting some of the troops like abroad, like in deployments and everything. But they're really good, but they have a whole like original song component. So The Call I actually started. I was like, if I were to get this job, like how can I make like a song that is like in a way like patriotic, but not too like obnoxious about it, just like really just, a good song, So that's like when the call to, kind of serve your country came from. Um, Long story short, things didn't really work out that way. So I kind of repurposed that song to be about the call, but almost like um, a misguided sacrifice call, where like people a lot of times will feel that they have to better themselves or become more than they almost like need to be. And a lot of times they kind of screw people over along the way because they're all about like the bigger picture and like and a lot of times that can be like misguided in itself. Obviously not necessarily for a military because like
Right.
like obviously like what they do is amazing, but like in other ways, right? Like whether like you get like involved in like I don't know a pyramid scheme or like like a cult or something, right? Where it's just like this, it's like we can be so much more, and you have to like hurt a lot of people along the way to try to get there. So that was that song. All the songs, like there's one song I think you're playing even like on Christmas Day called Insane. That's more just like a bop really, and like if it's just like really riff driven, I may write like some like catchy lyrics around it, but it doesn't necessarily have to like be something like from here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think if the music and the riffs are just so damn good and you're just really
Yeah.
feeling that more than anything, I guess you just want to, I don't know, I'm not a songwriter, but maybe sometimes you just want to have something that sounds good, but you know that it's
Sure.
going to be the music that's going to be the drive on that track.
Yeah, exactly. And like I might be biased because like I am someone who like I listen to vocals. Like my favorite singer is like Chris Cornell, Soundgarden. But like yes, he was an amazing lyricist. But he was very like abstract and heady in his lyrics themselves. On purpose. I think he was very like kind of ambiguous writer like that. Um, so I grew up listening to vocals all the time, but not necessarily like lyrics, right? And then just recently, I've actually been going back and like listening to a lot of like stuff from that era. Whole tangent, all these guys obviously like OD'd or committed suicide, and like it's so sad. But then you listen to the lyrics finally, and it's like, oh, it makes sense because all they wrote about was like their pain, and like you have Lane Staley saying like, I want you to scrape me from the walls, like really really heavy shit, right?
Right.
So it's just crazy that like when people like when they actually died, everyone's like, oh, but he was like so happy and like he was so successful, and it's like, well, if you actually listen to the words like they're singing about, it's like really depressing, right? But
Right.
that's also made good music for the time in the '90s, right? All this like self-loathing kind of stuff. So
Yeah. And I'm glad you're saying those things because I think this generation nowadays, they don't, it's a different time, it's a different generation. A lot of them don't really take in the fact that this is a self-expression. This is
mhm.
something that someone's sharing with you. They're opening up their souls to you through music. Whether it be them telling a story, be good, bad, sad, happy,
Yeah.
about someone possibly wearing a onesie on Christmas. Who knows?
That's my next song.
All I want for Christmas is a onesie.
It's gonna be like a half like harsh vocal, like all I want, and just like it's gonna be great. I love it. It's gonna be so good.
Great way for us to veer off track on that one. We're being so serious, sentimental. We jumped into onesie. The point I'm saying this generation though that I don't think they understand the gift of music the way like we would. Like
Yeah,
I grew
yeah,
up in the '80s, the '90s, the 2000s. I've been through a lot of the greatest generations we've had.
sure.
But I don't know. Do you think it's taken a big change, or do you think it's
I
gotten
think
better or
it's
worse?
I think it's different to be honest. Even then, like I love like I mean like I would still my go-to is still like rock, But even then, like my wife like she kind of keeps me into this like listen to some more like modern stuff. And at first I'm a little like whatever, but I mean she loves rock too. Obviously, she actually loves like Janis and like '70s Jefferson
Oh wow.
Starship, like really like the more blues oriented. And I love that too. But even then, I find myself like needing a little more like intense vocal, if that makes sense. Because like
Yeah.
I just love, and obviously it's based on my mood too. But even then, like I mean, like I do like Bad Bunny. She got me into Bad Bunny, and like even yesterday on the plane, I like streamed like Taylor Swift Midnights because I was like, well, this album is critically acclaimed like by a lot of people, so I might as well like listen to it. And like obviously you have to be in the right mindset, especially for that album, because that album is just like a wash of just like electronic sound and like on purpose. That's kind of the aesthetic of it, right? But if you're in the right headspace, like you can appreciate those things, right? And even now, like I think it's just like I said, it's different in the way that um, younger generations. I mean, I'm like 33, so even then, we're talking like the Gen Z TikTok generation, which is even after me kind of thing. It's just a different way that I think media is consumed. I think there is a part of it that is it's a lot more fast media, right? It's a lot more about like the feed and scrolling, and can you get something that is going to attract the attention of your target audience
Right.
in 5 seconds, right? Like that's all you got, 5 seconds. Sometimes even like 3 seconds if it's just like scrolling through fast enough, right? So I think that presents its own issue because obviously the two things are not entirely correlated, but it's kind of like a litmus test for like the attention span you can expect from an audience. And like I know that sounds like kids these days like can't focus, right? But it's kind of like chicken or the egg, like kind of what came first, right? Because you do have all these like social media companies, and like I do it. It's not like I'm like anti any of that. Like I do it all the time, right? But it is kind of like what created what, right?
Right.
Are they just keeping up the generation, or is this like fast, media content kind of fueling this idea of like what can grab my attention like fast enough, right? And like that's not entirely translatable to like music, but obviously, it's one of the biggest, most accessible forms of media just to kind of get on your phone. And even if your algorithm is all music based, you're still going to be getting to like stuff really fast. So it has to kind of catch you just like that.
Right. Right. And I'm glad you put it that way because that kind of brings me to my next question because I know your EP just dropped.
Yeah.
And I can only assume it's doing very, very well because you're a very well established artist.
I'm doing what I can with it. But yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I have a lot of like, obviously, like, first of all, it's that's all about, and like that's what I've kind of learned, like reaching out first to friends and family to spread. But even then, I sing in the DC area with a band called the Reagan Years. It's like an '80s band. It's like my full-time job. Very blessed to be able to do that while be able to get this creator project as well, up and running. So even then, like we had our debut show last week, and like we had so many of those people come and just like fill the place out because of
Nice.
that reason. Yeah, and they've been just so good. Like I was even thinking, like, do we even want to like make shirts? Shirts are like $300 to make. I have no idea if I want to sell them, but I got there and like literally around 20 of them had like made shirts of my artwork from the AnimaL IoN EP themselves. Like they just went ahead and did it. And I was like, oh my, it was like such a nice surprise because I go there and they have actually like the Rise album art of like the guy on, and they have like my logo in the back saying AnimaL IoN. And I was like, oh my God. It was almost like a built-in like fan base for that. So that was really, really cool. And besides that, got a YouTube channel. The guitarist who played and also produced all of my stuff for me. We're good friends. He was Connor Ingstrom. He's like played with Trans-Siberian Orchestra as well. And we have this like Let It Go metal cover online that has like 9 million views, and like it just kind of blew up out of nowhere. But we've obviously seen a lot of success from that as well. Just kind of getting the name out and some like monetary success as well. So one thing he's done is, just kind of on his channel, like also plug the EP. I just kind of learned that there is no set way to do it. You just kind of have to put it out into the world in as many avenues as possible. Because obviously, if someone gets annoyed seeing the same like 5 videos or 5 songs over and over again, like they can just unfollow if they want to. And
Right.
until then, I'm going to do what I have to do and just like check it out, Regression EP, check it out on Bandcamp, on Spotify, all that stuff. So,
Right. And I'm glad you brought up Spotify because this kind of brings me back to the question I just asked you about the differences between the generations and music.
mhm.
And with your EP release right now, do you is social media and these streaming platforms helping you get the album out more, or do you think it takes away the incentive for people to come and buy the album?
That's a good question. Right now, actually on Spotify, I only have like half the EP up, so I'm able to kind of milk the like go to Bandcamp a little more. Yeah, it's hard to be honest, because it is that fine line of what it's like. I mean, I've always, especially in the theater world, very much this was a thing where it's like, well, we can't pay you, but it's great exposure. And like, well, that's great. Like my rent is exactly 800 exposures. Like, how did you know? And like, it's so stupid, right? But I think I'm fortunate enough now to be in a position where I do have, like, I'm still making money performing, which is amazing. So I can kind of take some like sacrifices on the creative side, at least for now, obviously. If this like keeps picking up after the next like year and a half and I'm still like, just doing stuff, for the exposure, it may be different, obviously. But yeah, it's a hard thing because Spotify pays like what, like point zero four cents a stream or
Right.
something. Like it's obviously you've seen so many articles and so many like independent artists that are just like, if you really want to support your friends, support your artists, go buy their stuff, go buy their merch, go buy their CDs and their vinyls. And I think there's enough of a community still, knock on wood, obviously, enough of a community that are really into that will support in that way. And those are the people that will show up to your live shows. Those are the people that will, try to get your name out and at least plug you to their friends. Like, if you checked out this band, those are the people that will buy your merch. Which is why I think like vinyl has taken such a huge like comeback in the past like maybe like 6 years or so, because it's like, yeah, you can buy a CD, but at that point you might as well just like stream the music, right?
Right.
As opposed to like getting like a nice piece of like, like a record that harkens you back to those times when that was your option, right? You go to a record store, you get it, and I feel like that music is very in line with that aesthetic too. So it kind of makes sense that would kind of have a comeback.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny too, because we're talking about these streaming sites and how it seems like it's the legal version of Napster. Because way
Mm-hmm.
back in the day when Napster started, and that evolved into
Yeah,
LimeWire, then
of
Kazaa and all
course.
that, and a lot of artists were very opposed to this because it took away from all their hard
Mm-hmm.
work they put in to make an
Yeah,
album to sell.
all the piracy. Yeah,
And now you look at it, and it's like you go on Spotify, and like a lot of those artists that had such a huge deal with it are now they're perfectly okay with putting all their stuff on there.
yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of a contradiction a little bit, ain't it?
It's Napster but corporate, so it makes it okay. That's what it is.
Uh,
You know, it's like idea. It's like, oh, they can't do that. Oh, until like we actually like consolidate it and can like have the upper hand, and then oh, now it's okay, kind of thing. And also those artists that are so okay with it, I feel are already so established that it is just a way at that point for them just to get their music out and get younger generations to listen to their music, fall in love with it, and then hopefully actually dish out the money to see a show or buy their merch or something, right? But I
right.
think I think that's a luxury, honestly, to be at a certain point to be so okay with that. Yeah, because you're right. Because even then, it's like I remember the days. Obviously, like I said, I'm like millennial, like 33 years old. But even the days where like even if I didn't want to buy something, I would just like sit in my desktop computer on YouTube and like hope that someone uploaded a track of like
Right.
something and like obviously like tied to my computer, just like oh this next and this next. So that in itself was its own thing, but that also I think forced you to kind of appreciate it a little more, right? Because like your task was I'm sitting down, I'm listening to music, I'm watching this music video, right? As opposed to now, like I said, it's all about like the fast media, right? You can Spotify if you have the premium, which I do. You can skip around. You can listen to an album out of order if you want. Actually, Adele just like got Spotify. Did you read about this? This is recently, her most recent album, Adele, the one with Easy on Me on it. She just got Spotify to like on her albums, if you're listening, to get rid of the shuffle option because she was like, us as artists spend so much time sequencing the album with the songs that we want the order in, right? So if you're just going through and you're just skipping around to like the songs you want or shuffling, you're not getting the full like emotional journey of like what the artist intended, you know?
Right.
So and like it makes total sense, right? I listen to like some of my favorite albums, and like there's a definite progression in the even if it's not like a concept album like following like Dream Theater or anything, right? There's still a progression of the lyrics and like a overall emotional like arc being told, right? And if you're just like shuffling around, you're not getting that. So
Yeah.
like why? What's the point?
I wish that would have came around back in like the 80s and the 90s when cassette tapes were very popular. Because
Hmm.
back then you didn't want to risk shuffling around and fast forwarding or rewinding because you took a big chance at ruining the tape. So
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
so you spent a lot more time listening to an album in its entirety, one after the
Yeah,
other,
yeah. So we just
just so
got to
you could.
get through this one. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Is
yeah.
it done? Is it over yet? Is the next track
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
on?
It's like keep it rolling. We'll just make some bagel bites and come back.
Yeah, yeah. Ma, let me know when it's done. I'll be right back.
Hey, Ma! Oh, that's great.
Man, those were the days.
Yeah.
So, what's your big plans for Christmas? It is Christmas
Um,
Day after all.
yes. Miami. So gonna be down there. Gonna be with family. Just some nice little, um, just food really. I mean, I'm very food oriented as a person, so just eat and drink and yeah, that's really it. Nothing special. Just
Well, that's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I will say with the nice weather, because like I'm based like I said, it's based out of DC. Well, I'm sure I know I'm talking because you're in the Midwest, right? So
Yeah,
I'm sure like what's it there right now?
cold with snow.
Cold. Yeah, we have not gotten snow yet up in DC. Obviously in Miami, it's great right now. So
Well,
it's not
yeah,
it's nowhere near cold. So and that's kind of the reason we went down. So
at least you're going after the hurricanes.
yeah, I know. Seriously, it was rough this year. Like yeah, just one after another. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're picking a good time to go.
Yeah.
So we're at a point in the show we do a little something special called "The Floor Is Yours," and I like to
Okay.
give this time out to all my guests. If they want to send out a special message or something they'd like to say to new listeners or anybody that might be watching, what would you like to share with them?
I would just like to say, first of all, Regression EP, AnimaL IoN. Real name is Anthony, but AnimaL IoN, Regression EP. Check it out. If you got any links down below or anything like that on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, Bandcamp is mainly where it's at right now. Just give it a listen. If you like it, share it. It's just all about at this point, just visibility and it's kind of like I said, what I learned before, especially in a market right now that is so oversaturated, and a market where it is so easy for people to create content and get it out there. Um, in some ways, it's easier and harder because you can't get it out there yourself, but then everyone's vying for a limited attention pool. So I think the more that people can kind of share that and just kind of spread that, especially if you like this kind of music, hard rock, little post grungy, some heavy metal stuff. Yeah, just do what you can. And if you like it, let me know, especially at this point. Like, I mean, if you comment, if you personal message me, like I will respond. I'll say thank you because it does mean a lot. And like I just learned also that you know, if your fans, if you don't have time to kind of get back to your fans, like then who do you have time for, like on the internet, right? So like you might as well try to make that connection with people and just, So yeah, like I said, get that out there. Yeah, in the meantime, just also just be open to different kinds of music, right? Like if Taylor Swift drops a new album again, and like it is very easy just to like crap on her and be like, oh, like this basic girl, whatever. But like there's a lot of music that I've just been writing and kind of influences from even this EP that if I hadn't kind of opened up my musical palette in the past like year and a half, I wouldn't be able to pick up, ooh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, right? Yeah, so just also remain open to different kinds of music and just consume as much as you can in that regards, and then find what you like and promote what you like because the groundwork, especially in the fan base amongst the people, is kind of where it's at right now.
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a game changer now. It's not about labels seeking you out. Now you have to develop and build yourself up
Yeah.
for a label to come
Yes.
get you.
Yes. Yeah. Because yeah, I think the days of labels like taking a chance, so to speak, are kind of over, right? They are looking for people that already, are kind of a surefire, investment because it's a business. Obviously, you can't fault them, but yeah, it is very, very much now about how many followers, either literal or symbolic, is this person bringing in that then we can capitalize off of. So which is why I think you see a lot of artists like going independent now. There's a great band out of York, Pennsylvania, Small Town Titans.
Oh
Really
yeah.
hard rock. So good, so good. Obviously they have that Grinch hard rock cover which got them viral, but like the rest of the music is like amazing. And the singer is actually like a music business major, so I'm sure he knows. But just the fact that they are, at least at this point, like entirely like independent. They have a manager, I think, but besides that, like everything they're doing is on their own because they do have enough of that fan base to, get them out there. And they have a whole like perk system called like the Titan Army, where like it is kind of like their version of Patreon, which is, it kind of is more of those incentives just to kind of get their own audience out there. Then obviously being independent, they have the benefits of keeping all of the earnings, which is also important. So
Right. Yeah,
yeah.
we were privileged in our very first season to have the drummer on as a guest. They sent me a
No
signed
way,
CD.
Johnny. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that band. And their first album too was also very amazing as well. So it's like this is just like yourself. You're not going to put out bad music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just in terms of the listener, like me being a fan myself, it's like, yeah, I still enjoy the music. And when I can come across an artist that's just putting out great music, track after track,
Mhm.
album after album, it's an artist that's going to go somewhere. It's not repetitive and it's not stagnant.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. I really appreciate that. I tried really hard on this EP, especially to vary it up and pull from a lot of different influences while still being in the same, stylistic, package. So
Well, you're doing a great job, so keep up with it.
awesome. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Well, for all the new listeners and everybody who's just now getting to learn about you, if they wanted to find you, follow you, check you out, how can they do that?
Spotify has a few. AnimaL IoN, that's two different words. But if you want at this point the full EP, even just to listen, not necessarily even to buy if you don't want to, it's on Bandcamp. So that's one word, AnimaL IoN, .bandcamp.com. That's where the whole EP is. Also on Facebook, you'll see me if you just type AnimaL IoN. You see my picture is a guy with long hair and like a cutoff shirt, so it's hard to miss. And then yeah, hopefully soon a lot of stuff on YouTube too. So trying to work on a few music videos, at least some like performance videos and some in studio recorded videos too. So just trying, like I said, diversify that media. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, Anthony, man, it's been a true honor having you on the show. And for a Christmas special, I don't think we could have done it any better, any bigger.
Yes. Next year the onesie's coming out, but for now. With the tree. I appreciate it so much.
The tree's looking good. Was that your doing or the wife's doing?
I'm trying to think. We got it last year. I put it up this year. I will say that. And we're just trying to like add ornaments here and there. We have like 13 ornaments. We don't have a lot of ornaments right now, but yeah, it's good. Just that's like all we do. It's like the rest of the apartment is like normal, but like in this one corner of the room, it's like Christmas. That's right.
Yeah, that's the closest we're getting this year. We're not going to be
Yeah.
here anyway.
No, we're not. So that's fine. All the people walking outside will see it. So
Some AnimaL IoN Christmas ornaments would look pretty dope on there.
honestly, like the moth with the little fetus underneath. Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
Or you just go basic with the logo and the round ornament, the black and white.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I could just like hanging down. If anyone wants to make that for me, get in contact with me. I'll send you my address.
There you go, fans. Remember, when you see this, it's going to be Christmas Day, so all that stuff's going to be on clearance at the stores. If you want to do something cool for them, you can go buy it like half off and create it and send it to them for next year.
Yeah, exactly. After season discounts is where it's at.
Right. Well, Anthony, this has been a true blast having you on. You and your family have a very Merry Christmas and very safe travels.
You too, Mike. Thanks for chatting. Merry Christmas.
And fans, that's all the time we got for today. I hope you enjoyed our time with the AnimaL IoN himself, Mr. Anthony Nuccio. Did I get it right?
Yes, Nuccio. Yes.
Nuccio. Okay, cool. Until then, fans, I hope you guys each have a very Merry Christmas. Stay safe and enjoy your holiday. And keep supporting good music from around the world. I'm your host, Mike Stover. We're out.